Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you guys with the most up-to-date political, economic and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. Happy Monday, everybody. First up, a spokesperson for the Philippine Justice Department has announced that the Southeast Asian nation will deport about 40,000 Chinese workers in a massive operation which will see the closure of over 175 illegal offshore online gambling venues. The spokesperson expressed during the announcement that the industry crackdown was triggered by, quote, reports of murders, kidnappings and other crimes committed by Chinese nationals against other Chinese, end quote. The Philippines-based online gambling companies had been left to operate there for some time, likely due to the sizable tax revenue that they generated. The offshore gambling industry brought in 7.2 billion pesos, $122 million in tax revenue in 2020, according to the Philippine Department of Finance. However, the dark side of the business had been an open secret for some time too. The gambling companies mostly target Chinese customers and hire Chinese-speaking workers from mainland China and the regional diaspora, legally or illegally. At the industry's high, it's estimated that 300,000 Chinese people were employed in the operations in the Philippines. Accusations of forced labor, abuse, kidnapping, extortion, and even murder are rife. Philippine police reports put industry-connected kidnappings at almost 30 so far this year alone. The Philippines need not worry about any negative PRC response from the mass deportation, though. Indeed, Beijing has been urging a crackdown for some time. This could be a factor in the decision to crack down now. Chinese financial outlet Yicai writes that as China stepped up its ongoing 8-year anti-corruption campaign, many Asian casino operators turned to offline casinos and online gambling to lure Chinese gamblers. Manila Bay in the Philippines became a popular location for these operations. However, extra government taxes designed to ease COVID-related economic pressures imposed on the industry in 2021 prompted many offshore gambling operations to move to Cambodia and other places in the region. Thus, the tax increase resulted in both less economic activity as well as less tax revenue. Next up, the economy, and let's start with housing. In a rare move, potentially betraying a sense of desperation, the central government is offering a tax incentive for residential purchases of property. This is a new level for real estate support. Up until this point, the government support for the industry had been the easing of restrictions which had previously been in place to keep the sector cool. This new measure represents a positive incentive to buy, though in practice there isn't too much difference between these, but in terms of optics, the move is significant. The measures also suggest that Beijing is seeking to support people upgrading their homes. Previously, most incentives focused on first-time buyers only. According to a statement on the Finance Ministry website, residents who buy new homes within 1 year after selling old homes will get refunds for personal income tax on profits from the sale. The refunds have already taken effect and will run until the end of 2023. The tax break applies only to housing upgrades in the same city. Quote, the measure may help restore some confidence. It's another demand-side policy targeting home buyers after mortgage rate cuts. End quote. Hey guys, if you enjoy China Update and you like what I'm trying to do here with this channel and you would like to help me keep this sustainable, continue making these episodes every day for you guys, Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are in the description below. This is one of the best ways you can help support the channel, and if you're enjoying this episode in particular, don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you so much everybody for the ongoing support. Next up for the economy, in a year of bad news on the Chinese economy front, foreign direct investment, FDI, into the Middle Kingdom has been viewed as one of the bright spots, and perhaps, some argue, evidence that the situation is not as bad as believed. Is this the case? Well, on paper the numbers are indeed quite positive. According to the powerful National Development and Reform Commission, actual foreign investment in China in 2021 reached 1.15 trillion RMB, approximately $159 billion, second highest in the world, up 62.9% over 2012 levels, quote, reflecting the remarkable results of China's continuous opening up in the past 10 years, end quote, in the words of state media. In the first 8 months of 2022, China's actual used foreign capital reached 892 billion RMB, representing double-digit growth over the same period in 2021, which was already not bad. Great results, right? Well, with FDI into the mainland, we need to look a little behind the numbers. There certainly are some foreign companies investing new capital into China, with high-profile investing being made this year from South Korea, Japan, and Europe. In the period from January to August 2022, utilized foreign capital originating from South Korea saw the fastest growth rate, up 58.9% from the same period last year. This was followed by Germany with a 30% increase year-on-year, Japan with a 26% increase year-on-year, and the UK with a 17% increase year-on-year. However, most of the investment in mainland China, which we see in the numbers, actually comes from Hong Kong, and is likely because mainland companies based there are routing funds through the city in a circular journey known as round-tripping. Quote, the era of strong FDI inflows seen in the 1990s and early 2000s is over. The growth of FDI in the past few years has included the increasing presence of Chinese entities located in offshore funding centers, making the expression foreign investment somewhat inaccurate. End quote. Hong Kong was the source of a record 76% of all actually used FDI in 2021, according to an analysis of government data by Bloomberg's Hong Kong team. Research by the Beijing-based Chinese Academy of Social Sciences itself has concluded that so-called round-tripping represents about 40% of Chinese FDI. Round-tripping is defined as the transfer of local funds from direct investors to a foreign country, followed by a return of those funds in the first economy, or the local economy, in the form of an FDI. We should also keep in mind that hedge funds with a focus on the Greater China region experienced massive net outflows of China in 2022. According to Eureka Hedge data, the 2022 outflow was the worst since the index began recording the data 15 years ago. Net outflows reached $3.6 billion in the first 7 months of 2022, as hedge funds sought to reduce their exposure to China. Average returns on investments during this period reached negative 11.54%. Though of course average returns in markets all around the world have been very poor this year. Another aspect to think about is where this would-be FDI is going in the Chinese economy. Service industries have received the overwhelming majority of FDI this year, rather than the manufacturing and high-tech sectors, the sectors which Chinese regulators want to see that FDI poured into. Though, in saying that, according to Fitch, Chinese manufacturing has seen renewed interest this year. Since February 2022, FDI in manufacturing has grown faster than the total FDI in the country, with electric vehicle production, an industry which has received heavy subsidies, being a popular investment destination. So, when we think about FDI into China, we see a mixed picture. Not as bad as other parts of the economy we have been following this year, but also not as bright as the headline numbers would suggest. Analysts agree, though, that as China slows and its economy matures, we will not see the massive inflows that we once did in the past. And of course, there are geopolitical factors that have already burned some investors this year in other markets, and these too will have an influence on future performance. Quote, we expect a moderation in foreign investment into China in 2022 through 26, especially when benchmarked against a brighter FDI outlook for emerging markets in Southeast Asia. It's partly a COVID story, partly a development story, and partly a geopolitics story. As China's fraught diplomatic ties raise concerns about protectionism and sanctions, we also worry about things like compliance with tariffs and export controls. End quote. Okay, that was today's episode of China Update. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.